everybody. Welcome to Moms on a Mission. Today's show is sponsored by our good friends at MyPillow. MyPillow makes the very best pillows, slippers, sheets, and so much more. All I know is that Julie and I put them on the first thing, right? That's what you say,
Yes.
Julie. And then the last thing at night. They're $35 and they're amazing. If you just type in the code MISSION at checkout, you'll save up to 66% off. That's code MISSION at checkout. And we would love to have you follow us on your favorite platform, whether it's Apple, Rumble. If you just type the check mark on Apple and click follow on Rumble, you'll follow us and you'll see our episodes pop up in your email. And then our website is momsonamission.net, momsonamission.net, and email us with your questions or comments at moms@momsonamission.net. That's moms@momsonamission.net.
Today, I am so excited to introduce you to a very special guest. He graduated from the University of Oklahoma with bachelor's in accounting and a law degree. He has been an NFL and sports agent working out of Boulder, Colorado for over 40 years. He is a legend in the sports agency world. He's represented Heisman Trophy winners, All-Americans, and one of the top professional golfers of all time. He also teaches sports law at the University of Colorado School of Law and is on the board of directors for the Fellowship of Christian Athletes in Colorado. Most recently, the National Sports Law Institute awarded him with Jack and Joseph E. O'Neill Award in recognition of his significant contribution to the development of sports law, ethics, and integrity. It is my honor and joy to welcome Jack Mills, also known to me as Uncle Jack, to Moms on a Mission. Welcome, Uncle Jack. So glad to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Glad to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you.
We are glad to have you. Tell us a bit more about who you are and what you do.
Well, I am an attorney, but my life's work has really been in representing NFL players. I got started in that early in my law practice. When I first started out in the late 60s, these guys weren't really making enough money to specialize in it.
Mm-hmm.
But now here we are, 55 years later, and the guys are making a lot of money. So,
That's for
so
sure.
we're still,
Yeah.
and my son's working with me.
That's great. Well, so let's go back and kind of start a little bit at the beginning. I don't want to go right back. I know where you were born, but we'll skip ahead a little bit and talk about life in Stamford, Texas. Can you tell us a little bit what it was like living in small town America, Stamford, Texas, in the 1950s?
Well, looking back, I'd have to say it was a great experience, a great place to grow up. I think like a lot of things, you don't realize how good it is when you're going through it. But when you get older and you look back and you see the values that you got in a small town and the friends you made and I don't know, just knowing a lot of people. We're about 5,500 then.
Mm-hmm.
And just a great place to grow up. I've some my friends today are still some people from Stamford, and of course my rest of my family grew up there. So it was a great place.
Describe your K through 12 education. Do you have some favorite memories or anything that stood out to you?
Well, the good thing about a small town like Stamford is everybody goes to the same high school. And I think the memory that I have that was the most satisfying is that our football team won a state championship, state AA championship.
And he was the quarterback.
I was the quarterback on that team. And it just, I don't know, there's something about the friendships you make and the rewards that you have together is the thing that probably I remember the most. And there were a lot of good memories, but that was probably the best.
And specifically, I remember mom and dad, because of course my parents went to school with Uncle Jack, or, you're a little older, but I just remember mom talking and dad too about how he felt like in Stamford and those small towns that the teachers and coaches were such a community, and they would really spend the time, helping, I remember my dad saying, really helping me learn how to write, or they would spend the extra time, helping me learn how to read. Do you have the same experience with some of your teachers?
Yes, I think so. Those teachers, most of them they were lifetime teachers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they really do care. And I'd say, and our coaches were the same way. because the coaches in those days, they were teaching a class or teaching driver's ed or,
Yeah.
they wore many hats and coached different sports.
Yeah.
Like our head football coach was also our basketball coach.
Oh, wow.
Today it's not the case, but it's just a caring that you get in a town like that. It's different.
And do you remember, and I didn't really prep you on this or anything, but do you remember, do you feel like back in those days, the Bible reading was actually in the classroom? And do you remember was that a part of the education back then, prayer? And
yes, I'd say every day would, the school day would, over the intercom, would begin with prayer and with Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah.
And I don't remember Bible reading in the classes as such, but in a small town like that, pretty much everybody goes to church. So
yeah.
So you had there was just a nice Christian foundation in the schools.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That was nice and that was a public school. So you were in a public school where every day you said the Pledge of Allegiance, you had a time of prayer, which is kind of fallen by the wayside.
Mm-hmm.
And so you talked about tell us more about your family and friends growing up in Stanford. So do you have some particular memories maybe of your football team? I know you won the state championship, but maybe a teammate that encouraged you or a coach in particular that was of significance.
Well, I think our head coach, Coach Gordon Wood, was a true legend in coaching in the state of Texas. We won his first state championship, and I think he won 2 more there before he left. And then he went on to win, I think, a total of 5 or 6 at Brownwood, Texas.
Okay.
He was a true legend. Again, I think when you're going through that, you don't appreciate the way you probably should.
That's true.
It's
delayed appreciation. I call that in my house. It's delayed appreciation.
But it comes.
It comes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You realize that if they're making you do things that, working harder and this kind of thing, it paid off in the long run. The discipline and just the life lessons you get from being involved with a team that does well.
Yeah.
It stays with you the rest of your life.
And it teaches you about grit and perseverance and persistence. I was trying to figure out which word. Mm-hmm. Yeah, both of those. And obviously those are qualities you need, in your job, in your marriage, in your relationships, friends. I mean, things of that nature. I mean, what great qualities to learn.
Yeah. And Gordon Wood is a legend at my house as well. And did you stay in touch with him over the years? Were you able to stay in touch with him some?
Not as much as I wish I could have.
Yeah.
I think the last time I saw him was one of my teammates, Mike McClellan, who was an all-state player and came on to play for the University of Oklahoma. He was inducted into the Texas High School Football Hall of Fame, and Coach Wood was there for that. And some of our teammates were there for that. And I think that's the last time I saw Coach Wood.
Yeah.
One other time I went to Brownwood when Darrell Royal, the head coach of Texas, and some of the other college coaches were there to honor Coach Wood.
Wow.
And my friend Don Wills, who's still one of my best friends today, and I drove down to Brownwood. I flew into Dallas and we went down for that.
I love that. Aww. I love that. That the coach made such an impact on their lives that they would continue to, follow him.
Yeah.
And my dad was the same way.
Well, after you graduated from high school, where did you attend college and what made you choose that particular university?
Went to the University of Oklahoma, and I'd always been an OU football fan.
You can stay here for the rest of the interview now. Boomer Sooner. Okay.
Yeah, my parents had grown up in Oklahoma, and my grandparents had lived there. So we visited in Oklahoma a lot while I was growing up. And I became a Sooner fan and a Bud Wilkinson fan, and a couple of my high school teammates had gone to OU, Bob Harrison being one who became an All-American, the Outland Award winner. And then it was just just sort of a natural thing. I don't know why, because most people from West Texas weren't going to OU, although
It was more Texas Tech
more
and
Texas Tech and University of
Yeah.
Texas and Baylor and
Yeah.
SMU and TCU,
Mhm.
etc.
Well, rumor has it at my house that Mimi said, or my mom, Mimi, Judy, whatever we would call her, that granddad said no way on the University of Texas that you guys would not go. At least that's what he said to her. Now I don't know if he said that to you.
I don't recall that. He might have said it.
Sorry, Mom.
He might have said it. I just sort of naturally chose
Yeah.
OU. I don't think there was ever a lot of discussion about it. It just
Yeah, that was just
Happened.
out.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so what path so you got your accounting degree and then did you go straight to law
I
school?
went straight to law school. I was in ROTC, as everybody was in those days, because
Mhm.
we were going to go in the military. And I got a branch assignment that I didn't like. And so I thought, well, I think I'll go to law school now instead of
Okay, I didn't
waiting.
realize that. Okay.
And so that's what kind of, and then I also got married my first year of law school. And
That's impressive that
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
made it through that. Just
Yeah.
saying.
yeah, then I went on to be in the military after law school, and I got in Army Intelligence then, and that was something that I really liked and enjoyed.
Yeah.
Did that for 2 years.
So when you in high school, you were the quarterback, but that you didn't end up playing in college, but you still had an impact in athletics. So what did you do in college to stay involved with sports?
Well, as I said earlier, a couple of my friends were at OU, and I'd gotten to know the coaches when they were recruiting these guys.
Mhm.
And so when I went to OU, this was the days before computers. This is 1956. They were not such thing as a recruiting coordinator.
Right.
And so I actually, as a student, was doing pretty much what a recruiting coordinator would do today. So I
Okay.
got real involved with OU football, and I had, I didn't live in the dorm, but I ate all my meals with the players, and I was in the football office every day after class. And that's really what led to me in jumping ahead, ended up being in Colorado, because Eddie Crowder, who was the guy that I worked with the most on the OU staff, ended up being the head football coach at CU at Colorado.
Okay.
And that's how I got to Boulder. He hired me when I came out of the military to be his assistant athletic director.
Okay.
And I did that for 1 year and then went into law practice.
Okay. So you went from law school to the Army, you did special intelligence in the Army,
Mhm.
got married, and then Eddie Crowder came back around and offered you a job at CU to be an assistant.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you did that for just a year.
Just 1 year.
And
Yeah.
then is that when you opened your own business?
Yeah, I went with a law firm, a small law firm in Boulder, and just was doing a regular law practice. And then I started representing some of the athletes coming out of CU and some of the athletes coming out of Oklahoma as their agent,
Yeah.
to represent them for their professional contract negotiations. That back then they weren't making that much money, so it wasn't something I could do full time, but it was something I did as just a part of my law
Okay.
practice.
And is that, just forgive me because I don't know this, but is that common? Like agents have a law degree?
It is common.
Okay.
Today, you have to have some type of graduate degree to get certified. The way it works is that the unions of the professional sports certify people to become agents in their sport.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
So they set the rules, they set the qualifications. They actually, tell us what we can do and can't do and set our fees and everything. So,
okay.
Yeah. But when I started out, that wasn't the case. It happened years later that they took over the certifying of the agents. So if you want to be an agent in a particular sport, you must get certified by the union in that sport.
Okay.
And they don't require a law degree. You just have to get.
It has to be some kind of graduate degree for football. I don't know about the other. I'm not certified in any of the other sports.
Okay.
So I'm not really sure what education requirements they have.
Okay.
So after you had, kind of, I guess you did that part-time for a while, then you started your own business called Ascent. Is that correct?
Yeah, we eventually we just continued as a law practice until we became fully specialized in
Okay.
doing the athletes. So we have used several different names, but yeah, Ascent, we used that for a while.
Okay.
And it didn't really matter what name we were using.
Yeah. It's more about the people.
It's more about the people.
Yeah.
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 They didn't, I don't think the players really cared what we called
Yeah.
ourselves.
Probably not. Probably.
So some people in our audience are probably not familiar with the sports agency business. I'm also one of them. Can you tell us what you do for athletes that hire you?
The primary thing you do is you negotiate their employment contracts. That is what the union has control over, because the unions are responsible for wages, hours, and working conditions.
Okay.
And so that's what they control us to do for the players.
Okay.
And so it's not required that a player has an agent, but typically everyone has an agent. Here recently, Lamar Jackson, the quarterback for Baltimore, never got an agent. And
Really?
he just did a real big contract for himself. So, you know, assuming assuming you do okay. But yeah, but you can do other things like endorsements, and some people have financial advisors for them to do their tax work. We sometimes get involved in helping players get that service, but we don't provide it in-house. But sometimes the career management can involve things other than just negotiating the contract, because they have other things going on, and usually we're the first people they call on if they have another problem or another issue.
Yeah.
So you can actually become their most trusted advisor.
Wow. Yeah.
If it works out the way it should.
Yeah. Well, I know you've represented some pretty high profile people, especially for the folks in Oklahoma, namely a couple of Heisman Trophy winners going back as far as, Mr. Steve Owens, and then lately Baker Mayfield. And then, we're football crazy at my house. So Eric Dickerson was always that was a household name. Mm-hmm. And then if we go over to the golf side, we're also golf crazy, and watched Hale Irwin, for many years. And he was so successful. And I wanted to have some stats on him, but I didn't look him up. But he was remember for sure the number one. I know he won the US Open, and then also was the number one player on the senior tour for many years in a row. Is that correct?
That is correct. He won 3 US Opens on the regular
tour.
And on the senior tour, he won 45 tournaments. And that was by far the most that any individual had won until Bernhard Langer recently.
Oh, okay.
I think just caught up to that.
Like this year, maybe, right?
Year.
Okay. I may have been watching that when
and
that
he
happened.
may be tied with Hale now. And
okay,
he's a little bit younger.
Yeah.
And he will
play a few more.
Surpassing.
He'll probably end up with the most wins.
Yeah.
But Hale was really the dominant player out there for the time. Hale's like 77 now. So
I love his story though, especially at my house. He was football player first at CU, and then became a golfer. That doesn't happen very often.
But I've seen even with some NBA players, they're really great golfers.
Yeah.
I think there's a golf tournament that they have, an amateur kind of thing. And these athletes are amazing golfers as well. It's so incredible that God blessed them with all that talent. You think he could have spread it out a little bit, but just saying.
Yeah.
Really, that would have been nice. Well, so you have these guys and they're pretty high profile. What would you say is maybe the most challenging part of, they're all great people, but what do you think is the most challenging thing for you to represent them?
I think probably, let's put it this way. There's a lot of peer pressure in terms of what people are making. And
I bet.
Have you seen Jerry Maguire?
Yeah.
Perfect example.
And so you try to keep these people happy that, you're doing a good job and they're making the kind of money they should make. And sometimes if you're getting them endorsements, they want to feel like you're doing enough to justify your role. And it's a very personal relationship. You become basically part of their families.
Yeah. Okay.
And so it's just a matter of client maintenance. A lot of it's just maintenance,
Yeah.
just keeping up. And
Like when I watched
fun.
that movie, it looked very stressful.
It can
Like
be.
they
It
threaten
can
to
be.
fire you if you don't,
Yeah.
help them make a certain amount of money. Or
Right.
the peer pressure if they see a peer who just landed a
Yeah.
endorsement, but you haven't gotten one for them for a while. Like
Like you
I
have to be
just,
picky about who you work with.
yeah.
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 Yeah. I asked Stan Kasten, who was he's now president of the LA Dodgers, but he used to be with the Atlanta Braves. And I asked him how long in what was the shortest amount of time that a player had asked to renegotiate his contract after he had signed it. He said it was a Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Oh my word.
So
That's impressive.
So it's like, you think you've got a good deal, and all of a sudden the next contract comes along and it's more than your player got, and he could be unhappy or want to renegotiate. And
I like the point you made about being a part of the family. And I have a vivid memory when Baker was being drafted. And I hope I got this right, but I kind of remember this. It was either you and Tom, or you were sitting with the family, right? Like in their living room and cheering and like waiting kind of on pins and needles. And so they really do. I can vouch for that. They really become a part of the family, and they're the ins and outs of things probably in the Mayfield.
Yeah, we were there. Everybody, Baker didn't want to go to the draft, which kind of disappointed me because I wanted to go.
Yeah.
But, and it was in Dallas that year, I believe.
Okay.
But anyway, we were at the Mayfield home outside of Austin.
Yeah.
And we really didn't know it was going to be the Browns. Everyone's kind of plays games about what they're up to. So
right.
So that nobody.
I feel like everybody knows now. Like, everybody comes out and they all have their hats and shirts and jerseys. And I feel like they have a little bit of a heads up.
It makes you wonder, doesn't
it?
it? Well,
they're awfully prepared. I'll say that.
When you're at the draft itself, I can see how they can have all the jerseys and all the hats. But when some guy's sitting at home,
right?
Does he have a supply of stuff sitting there? I haven't figured that one out. And I've been doing this a long time.
Well, if you don't know, we don't know. That's for sure.
Well, you know how much our Sooner State loves Baker Mayfield. In fact, my son has the jerseys.
Does he have a Baker hat? You remember those Baker hats?
No, he doesn't have the hat.
That was my nephew that had that.
Oh. Well, do you have any interesting facts or something that an average person might not know about Baker?
I was thinking about that. I think that the Baker you see on the field and publicly sometimes, I think some people think he's cocky, and I don't know. I will say this: he's one of the nicest people you'll ever meet.
Mm-hmm.
He's very philanthropic. He just really cares about people. The thing about Baker is he had to come up the hard way.
Yeah.
No one offered
That's
him a
right.
scholarship coming out of high school. He had to walk on twice at Texas Tech and then at OU. And OU didn't even know he was coming. He was on the campus without their knowledge. And he went over to see Bob Stoops and basically said, "Can I come out for the football team?" So he's always had to prove himself. And I respect him so much for that, because I think he's the only Heisman Trophy to be a walk-on.
That's so impressive.
I said that's a great point, and really is a testament to who he is.
Yeah.
I mean, he has
And
so
I've
much
forgotten
grit
that.
to be able to do that. I mean, nowadays, if you don't have the help, you don't have the leg up or whatever, you're like, oh, I just can't do it. But man, he would not quit. And I think that's what makes him such a great leader. And I think you mentioned some people might think
wasn't
he's
given
cocky,
to him,
but like he's just confident. He is a fighter. He will not quit. He's relentless, because that's what he had to do to become who he is today. And I think that's great.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't remember that he didn't start with a big scholarship with a lot of notoriety. I remember watching him play as a player at Texas Tech and on TV, and I thought he was a magnificent player at Texas Tech, and then came up to OU, and then of course we kept following him then. But what I do love about Baker, I tell him for me, his commercials are the best.
They're the absolute best, for sure.
He has such a good sense of humor.
Yeah.
Does that come naturally to him?
It must, because he really does have a great sense of humor. He's a jokester sometimes. I mean, Yeah.
Well, he's a natural at that.
Yeah.
As
he's
long-
natural.
It
And
looks like it's
the
real.
Mannings, you know, the Peyton Manning and Eli, they're really good at that too.
Yes,
They're
they are.
funny.
Yeah.
And then what's great about that is when sports are over, they have longevity. They can go into, more commercials
Or
and
even like sports announcers.
sports
or-
announcers,
yeah.
because the Mannings are now on, the NFL, and they are hilarious.
Yeah.
I don't even care about the game. I just like
Yeah.
listening to those two.
Yeah. Go at it.
They're great. Okay. Well, I want to get into this for sure. So you have been in the business 50 plus years. I said 40 plus, let's say 50 plus years. And now we have this thing that I hear all the time that my kids say, NIL, name, image, likeness. Could you tell us how that's affecting your business as well as college and pro sports, and just kind of give us your take on NIL?
Well, it's NIL, name, image, and likeness, has come about as a result of a court decision saying that athletes are entitled to make money off of their name, image, and likeness.
Mhm.
It started out to be mostly, allow them to make money off of endorsements or appearances. But it has blown way beyond what I think it was supposed to be. We're now getting into the area of what is it pay for play. And so it's not supposed to be pay for play, but quite frankly, now there's no meaningful control of the business. It's wide open. The NCAA basically is taking hands off because every time they try to control something, they get sued and they usually lose.
Mhm.
And I think they're tired of paying legal fees and getting
Sure.
So I think they're just kind of letting this run wild and hoping that Congress will come along and pass a law, because it's clearly an interstate activity.
Was there something that was the
And
driving?
several states are doing their
Oh, they are.
Okay.
several states are doing their laws.
Was there something that was the driving force with the creation of that? Like, did it just come out of left field?
Well, for years, players have argued that they should be either able to get paid by the school, get a cut of the TV money, or be able to make money when they're selling their jerseys with names on it and this type of thing. There's always been that argument, but it had never really gotten to where it is today without litigation.
Mm.
So the litigation is what's opened the floodgates. And quite frankly, that coupled with the transfer portal has completely turned college sports upside down.
Like you gave them an inch, I'm not faulting the players. I'm just saying maybe the industry, you gave a little bit of room for, I guess that makes sense. Like if you are famous enough, good enough that you sign a jersey, you could make money off that or what have you. But it seems like you give a little bit of room and then people see a way to make money and just blow it up.
Yeah. Well, what's happened too is, for example, the schools themselves are not supposed to have direct involvement in the money that the players are getting for NIL. So they form what are called collectives. Collectives are these little independent organizations that each school is getting now that is supposed to raise money and reward the players for doing something. Now, that something can be as general as promoting charitable causes. Now, tell me what that means. For example, the University of Texas formed a collective for the offensive linemen. And I think every offensive lineman is getting $50,000. Now, what's he supposed to be doing for that? I'm not sure, because I haven't seen any of their agreements, but it could be something as general as promoting charitable causes.
Yeah.
Now, whatever that means.
Yeah. And it just, when you put that much money into things and people are so excited about their college teams and they want to get involved in some capacity, these, alumni, it concerns me. I mean, I hate to use this word, but I'm just going to go ahead and use it. Just the corruption that can come into this, the corruption. And then what happens to the players, the education? A lot of them are not ready. I'm not going to speak for all of them, but many of them are not ready to receive that kind of money. They can be exploited by, an outside source or a
even
family
their
member.
family.
Or even their own family member. So you were talking before the show kind of about how things used to be, the education was more in the forefront for these guys. And in the summers, can you explain that, how it used to be kind of they would have summer jobs and
Yeah. Well, one of the reasons that I think that the players got so worked up about being able to have outside income is that the schools eliminated their opportunity to do summer jobs. Because when I was going to college many years ago, the summer jobs were a big part of the recruiting process to get the players. And now the players are not allowed to have summer jobs because they're required to be in summer school and work out all summer. Not in pads, but they have practices that they're supposed to attend. And so they simply didn't have any spending money. I mean, just running around money, whether it's going to a movie or going out to dinner or getting gas in the car, whatever it was, it really pushed them so hard. So now we've gone to the other extreme. And quite frankly, with the transfer portal where these people are switching schools, for example, I have not yet heard of a player that wasn't academically able to transfer. Now, in the old, and the University of Colorado, for example, has lowered its requirements for students to transfer. And that was part of the deal with the new coach they've hired, Deion Sanders.
Neon
Yeah. So
they can attract more players.
So I would say that education has taken a back seat. And maybe it's been that way, but I think now it's more known and prevalent than ever that education, it's feeling more like pro sports.
Yes. It's sounding.
It's feeling more like pro sports where they're talking now about unionizing the players and allowing them to make this kind of money. It's I don't know.
That opens up Pandora's box.
Yeah. And it kind of reminds me of other unions, like the teachers unions and how, and I'm hearing a similar theme that there might be a good idea, and then it's just exploited and you just can't, you can't rein it in because it runs wild.
Yeah. One of the things that John, my husband and I have talked about quite a bit with this NIL thing is that, what does it do when you have one player making a lot of money and another player not making so much money? I mean, that's just going to breed
the dynamics.
I'm telling you, if I was a quarterback, I'd want my offensive line getting paid well. If I was getting paid $1 million and the guy in front of me was getting 50,000 or 5,000, I mean, there might get to be some resentment. Think, oh, you think you're so, do you think that could happen? I mean, that concerns me.
No, that's absolutely a problem. And to that point, and I don't remember the school or the player, but I was told that a quarterback at one of the big schools who got quite a bit of NIL was in fact sharing it with his offensive lineman. So your point is well taken.
Yeah.
There's a lot of opportunity for resentment.
Yeah.
About, well, for example, now I don't know how much the rumors are out that Arch Manning, who's going to the University of Texas, was getting somewhere like 3.8 million. Now, and maybe he's going to be the starting quarterback, but he was there for spring ball, and I think he was running third. So, and maybe he's going to be starting. I don't know any of the details, but you can just imagine if he is not playing and making that kind of money, some people are going to think that's not exactly fair.
Yeah. Well, and I think just for a human being, that would be hard. The Bible says the love of money is the root of all evil. And I think when money gets involved at such an exorbitant level, I think that would be hard for anybody. But when you think about it, these are kids.
The pressure.
They just got out of high school and they're still developing, even in their brain, it's still developing. And I just think that's a lot of pressure to put on kids and just kind of stirring up the hornet's nest unnecessarily.
So well, even with coaches, think about that too. They're getting paid more than some of the coaches. It just brings up a lot of issues.
Well, the fact that coaches were making so much money, all of a sudden, the last few years, the coaches' salaries are upwards of 5 to 10 million now. I think this made the players feel even worse about not getting a piece of the pie.
Yeah.
It was like
we're the only ones not making any money here.
They don't really give enough credit to the value of the education.
Yeah.
I mean, you go to a private school, it could be worth, $60,000 to $75,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can leave college debt free, that's a pretty good deal now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a very good deal.
Because so many kids are coming out with high six-figure debt.
Mhm.
Yes.
And it takes a long time to pay that back.
I think
So
you're right. The value
yeah.
of the education has been kind of been set aside.
It has.
And we as moms would like to encourage people to think a little bit more about that. Because I know for me, I want my children, they are doing this, and I'm so proud of them, to take that college education and make it a lifetime, achievement, so that they're getting a great job and it's going to provide for them for their life. And I know a lot of these professional players, they go in and make great money, but their careers can be short-lived. And they may run, get through that, burn through the money quickly. And then they don't even have their education, and that'll never happen. But it happens, doesn't it, over and over? I mean, have you seen that?
Or they get injured.
Or they get injured.
Yeah. And here's the other thing. Very, very few. I think it's somewhere around 5% of college players
Right.
will even have the opportunity to be a professional player.
Yeah.
And you think about all that sacrifice. I know before the show, we were talking about, the requirements, and we've talked about it here, the requirements, they're not working anymore so they can train, and they're really, selling their soul really to just lay it up for the, the small percent chance of them going to the NFL.
Yeah.
Well, we laugh at Moms on a Mission on several times where we've said, someone said, I'm going to go back to the 1880s. Well, I think I'd like to go back to the 1950s and 60s with some of the way sports are done now. It's like, I'd like to go back in time. And it was a sweet time back then. I know money was not as big of a deal, but we played for a different reason, maybe.
Well, and the TV money has just driven the money coming into sports is
it's insane. It's insane.
And that's another reason the players, I think, want to get more of the pie, can't blame them.
I mean, it makes sense. It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
What advice would you give to a young person who's thinking about entering the sports agency business?
Well, I get that a lot, having taught for a lot of years and just mentored a lot of young people. I think number one thing you better have is a servant's mentality. And I tell people that most people don't quite have that. I mean, especially athletes themselves, because athletes that go to the pro level have been treated differently since they were little leaguers. Most guys that get to pros were great in little league. I mean, these kids are identified early. And so they've always had everything done for them. So it's a different experience for them to be doing stuff for other people that somebody was doing for them. So it's very competitive. It depends really on how bad you want to do it, how hard you want to try. Very, very competitive. In the NFL, we have about 900 certified agents. And you figure.
And how many players?
Well, figure 32 teams times a 53-man roster, and there's about 10 extra people.
Okay. You
can figure that out. And in the draft each year, about 250 people get drafted. So there's plenty of agents to go around. And let's face it, some of the big firms have, over 100 clients. And so it depends on how hard you want to work at it and how long you can stay with it financially if you're not getting players. Because it costs money to recruit players. And you have to recruit them. The good players are not calling, they're not calling up the agents saying, hey, would you like to represent me? The agents have to.
So you're like taking them to dinner, spending time, talking, going to see
relational.
And you have to pay, they want to be their training paid for when they're getting ready to do what we call the NFL Combine, where they bring all the players into Indianapolis that are deemed to be draft worthy. So you can spend quite a bit of money. Just training a guy to get ready for that.
So time, investment, hard work. That's what it sounds like a lot of jobs.
It's ideal if you have another job, like if you're in a regular law practice, while you're waiting.
Oh,
to
that's smart.
That is very
develop.
smart.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's
The
what
way
I-
you did it.
That's what I was doing.
Yeah.
Because when I first started out, these players weren't making enough money really to justify specializing in doing it.
Okay.
Mhm.
And there weren't very many people trying to do it because there wasn't a lot of money to be made.
Okay, this is a surprise question for you, but based on the way it's evolved, what it's evolved to today and the way everything's run today, if you were the age you were back in the day, would you pursue this knowing the way it is now? Would you still
Did you do it
pursue
all over again?
I would for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I can't think of anything I could have done that I would have enjoyed more or that had more. You're lucky if you can make a life out of what you're doing to make a living.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a good trick because most people don't.
Mm-hmm.
Most people, their job is, when they're done with their job, it's okay. Now this is when I get to have my fun or, I work all my life so I can retire and I'm still working at my age. So I must enjoy it.
Yeah. At your
That's-
young age.
That's right.
That's
right.
really impressive, actually.
Okay, well, I'm going to close with this one. You have managed a remarkable career plus a 60+ year marriage to the wonderful Sorelda. And I know she's been a huge support in all of your endeavors when it comes to business and your children and grandchildren. And you have raised 3 successful children and not to mention 7 amazing grandchildren. So do you have just a few tips for those younger people out there and even for me and Miriam to stay the course?
I just saw this Kansas City player. I don't know if you guys saw it, was speaking at a graduation, and he advised people to get married and have a family, which I think shocked everybody.
Yeah, I love that.
Because, nowadays,
It's not cool.
That's not culturally in,
Well,
right?
when I was in college, you pretty much were supposed to have the person you wanted to marry by the time you got out of college.
Mhm.
And today, that's not the case.
True.
It's, I was married at 23. So now my grandsons are going to be getting married when they're like 30 or 31.
Mm-hmm.
So, a wife is the big part of any career, whether it's agency or whatever you're doing, to be supportive.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, life is one big balancing act. And a guy that came to my class one time, he was the general manager of the Colorado Avalanche hockey team. He said life is a negotiation.
Oh, I like that.
Life is a negotiation.
So
I
true.
don't care what you're doing. Could be where you're going to have dinner tonight.
Yeah.
Could be where you're going to go on vacation. Could be, any number of things, or it could be money.
Yeah.
But it's just, there's so much give and take, and hopefully you pick the right person.
Yes. I love that. So get married young, find your balance and negotiate. And that sounds like a lawyer right there to
That
me.
does. That does.
Well, whether you like it or not, it's probably what it is.
Oh, I agree with you. And it's worked very well for you and Sorelda and
has.
your family.
It
And I
has.
love being a part of that. I've had some of my best memories growing up or spending time in Colorado, getting out of the hot summers of Oklahoma, July. When mom and dad would send us up to you and Sorelda and our fun cousins, Deborah, Mary, and Tom, and we would have the best time. They would tolerate me because I was the baby. I was always tagging along. But man, those were some great times. I'm so thankful that you joined us today on
Well,
Moms
thank
on
you.
a
I'm glad I
Mission.
did too.
Yes,
been
Jack,
fun.
thank you so much for joining us today here at Moms on a Mission. And we would love to hear from you, our audience. Let's get connected. Just go to our website at momsonamission.net and fill out your information. That's momsonamission.net. And email us with comments or questions at moms@momsonamission.net. That's moms@momsonamission.net. And please follow us on your favorite platform.
Moms on a Mission is excited to partner with our friends at MyPillow. According to sleep experts and sleephealth.org, over 50 million Americans struggle to get a good night's rest. That's where MyPillow comes in. They make the best pillows, sheets, mattresses, and mattress toppers. Several years ago, I was having trouble falling and staying asleep due to neck and shoulder pain. Luckily, I heard an ad about MyPillow and decided to give it a try. After 3 or 4 days, I really began to feel the difference. I was sleeping better and my neck and shoulders felt so much better. MyPillow really does help you fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer. Moms on a Mission wants you to get a great night's rest too. Go to MyPillow.com right now and use the promo code MISSION for up to 66% off your purchase. MyPillow products are made in America and have a 60-day money-back guarantee and lifetime warranty. Remember, go to MyPillow.com, put in the special code MISSION for your special Moms on a Mission discount. Thank you and God bless.
Hey guys, it's Moms on a Mission here. Are you worried about your financial stability and protecting the money for which you work so hard? The problem is stock market volatility and inflation. You may be wondering what you can do to preserve your family's wealth. We at Moms on a Mission encourage you to reach out to our friend Andrew Sorcini with Beverly Hills Precious Metals. Andrew is the expert in educating you to help you find the right balance of gold and silver for your family portfolio. He made it so easy for me to add precious metals to my financial investments. I simply mailed a check to Beverly Hills Precious Metals and my silver showed up on my doorstep a few days later. It was so easy. Go to bh-pm.com to save a little money and tell them that Moms on a Mission sent you. That's bh-pm.com. Don't wait. Protect your wealth today by going to bh-pm.com and tell them that Moms on a Mission sent you. Hi everybody, it's Moms on a Mission here. Recent research from the CDC says that millions of Americans develop parasitic infections and symptoms often go unnoticed or are misdiagnosed.
Parasites are the cause of many health problems, such as anxiety, depression, chronic pain, fatigue, and unexplained digestive issues. We all need a common sense strategy to improve our health.
We at Moms on a Mission encourage you to reach out to our good friend, Dr. Jason Dean. Dr. Dean's Full Moon Protocol provides all-natural detoxification and fights inflammation. These supplements are made with 100% organic ingredients and are proven to kill parasites safely and effectively.
To order your Full Moon Protocol, go to bravetv.store/mission to save $20 off your first order. That's bravetv.store/mission. Order Full Moon Protocol and start killing those foreign invaders that have been keeping you sick. That's bravetv.store/mission to receive $20 off your first order.